Alright. What the hell is going on, ladies and gentlemen? We've got Shin in the top right side of the semi-finals, the dark horse of the tournament here in PiGFest 5, fighting for his share of $10,000 and that spot deeper in the tournament. And him and his opponent SERRAL doing mirrored build orders. SERRAL in the bottom left for Basilisk, of course. The greatest player of all time. A player who famously had one of his world championship runs stopped short by Shin in the round of 8. In a final game on altitude where SERRAL was ahead, but he thought he was behind, and he Idra'd out of a game. Now, some people would say they've defended that, and they've said it was not an Idra moment. We've analyzed the games. We've recovered the replay multiple times. It was nearly impossible for a player of SERRAL's caliber to lose the game from that point. It was a match which he threw away. It haunted him for a bit, but he's come back and won world championships since then. He has dominated tournaments since then, and he has looked absolutely fantastic. Shin himself yesterday, qualifying for the semifinals through. I asked him about this series, and he said, oh, you know, out of the top guys, I think SERRAL's one of the best. I think, you know, these other guys really, really good, Dark and Raynor and everyone. I think I'm the worst at ZvZ of all the high-level Zerg players. And obviously, I was like, look, Shin is way too humble. He is like a fan of the game first and foremost, so he'll say stuff like this sometimes. But I really think he kind of undersells himself. I think what this series does come down to, though, is the fact that he is more of a timing attack, an aggressive-natured player. SERRAL is so good at scouting. And realistically, if we look at the history of SERRAL Zerg vs. Zerg and why it's so dominant, he does have a much faster gas, by the way, it is because he scouts every trick his opponents try to do and then deals with it. And if Shin wants to do something tricky, it's going to be coming down to how well he blocks SERRAL's scouting. You're going to need to force SERRAL to play without all of the cards at one point, without all of the information and the knowledge. And that's what most players have failed to do. Now, Shin did take his gas a bit later. He focused really hard on his mineral mining. He's building an Overlord here on 28, similar to SERRAL. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him skip Ling speed. He's pulled one worker off gas. He's going to go for a 2-base Mutalisk build. I think he's going to go for Lair as soon as this Queen finishes. He doesn't have to. It'd be a wild choice, but we were talking before the series about how if he can find a way to get to a Mutalisk game against SERRAL, it's going to make SERRAL a little bit more worried about the weird things he could throw out. But no, I was completely wrong. Never mind. He's just going for a delayed Ling speed and a third Queen. He's going to make it look like a Roach build, but he's actually going to have a potential Ling Flood capability. Okay, we'll see how this is dealt with. Now, SERRAL's the kind of guy who might just make a safety Baneling Nest anyway. Most Zergs, though, definitely prefer, if they see this sort of 2-base, you know, wall-off build, they think, well, you're not going to have Ling speed most likely. You could be going for a super optimized Roach build. The last thing I want to spend money on is Banelings. Oh, look at that! SERRAL with the cheeky Overlord scout, guys. Overlords can poke in, and he saw drones rallying, which tells him Shin is macroing. Tells him there's no big all-in coming. This is actually good for Shin, because Shin did not have his Ling speed revealed. The Roach Warren gets spotted, the Droning gets spotted, and now Shin goes into Zerglings and Carapace. So it's going to be a Ling Flood, and then he could follow it up with a Roach Zergling Ravager attack as well. Roach Warren goes down for SERRAL. So SERRAL is going to be fighting here, Ling versus Ling. Drone count very even on both sides. SERRAL's going to have the advantage of the third base, though, giving some really nice production. Interesting point from Lambo in the chat. I wonder why Shin plays this with 16 hatch instead of 15. 15-15 is usually better for doing 2-base builds because he could have built these queens 11 seconds faster than he did with this build. Would have given him 2 faster injects, earlier saturating the natural. And if you're planning to delay Ling speed and delay your third, usually that's the more optimized version. But Shin, he's got reasons for doing it. And already he goes for a massive Ling Flood and a Lair immediately behind it and a third base. SERRAL abandons his third right now. 3 queens, 11 Zerglings for him. He knows that losing that third would not be great, but losing his entire army would probably be the worst thing here. And look at that. Shin's going to fight. Shin says, hey, if you want to fight, I'll take it. But Shin not able to get the third, not able to surround the units there. Didn't want to fight into those queens. And it's going to be 2 players stuck on about 40 drones. The extra production could help on that third hatchery. SERRAL, no queen in the main or natural, which means he's going to have to split these queens back to get his injects going. SERRAL does defend for now. Now, at this point, SERRAL's gearing up for a better, longer game. He's got an earlier third. He has a third queen out. He's got +1 range, which is the better long-term upgrade. But remember, in the short term, it is not a good upgrade. because Carapace will completely counteract it in Ravager Zergling. So the +1 range will actually add no power to his Roaches when they're fighting the enemy Zerglings. And this is a Ravager Zergling all-in sort of play. And look at how well Shin's denying the vision. SERRAL can't get in there right now to see what's going on. And that's a problem. He needs to realize he is being all in. Because if SERRAL gets tempted and builds another 5 or 10 drones here, he's very likely to die. Now, he's got an Overseer coming in that right side. He sees no drones on the third, and at this point, he has to know something's up. He has to know something's up. He sees the lair finished. Sees Roaches coming out. It's kind of hard to figure out from this, because there's a lair, that it is a Ravager Zergling build. Because normally you don't go lair and Roach speed. But Shin's doing a Roach speed version of this with the Carapace. Very different style. No Ravagers made at all. It's like basically just a Carapace Roach Zergling all in. Completely different. Normally, you'll see Dark do this off like 3 gas and just look for a giant Zergling surround, drop the Biles on top. SERRAL realizes right now, just keep surviving, keep trying to Link Scout, see if he can get in here. Roach is shutting him down. Scouting has been minimized now, has SERRAL's. Lost one Overseer. He's going to make another one at the front. SERRAL invests a lot in scouting. You can see he's lost more resources in this game than Shin. Shin's Overseer, though, does go down as well, and here comes the attack. Here comes that gigantic attack. SERRAL just started 2 drones, but for the most part, he's been building nothing but Roaches for the last few minutes. +1 range about to kick in for him. His Roaches will do better than the enemy Roaches head-to-head, but it's the Zerglings that he's not going to be able to clean up that well. Roach Zergling coming in for Shin. Beautiful setup on the positioning for SERRAL. He's got a lovely arc. He has a supply lead, and it feels like this is just an impossible angle for Shin to break. Army supply dead, even though the Roaches going in on the left side, trying to overwhelm Shin, trying to make something happen here. But SERRAL, the master of defensive Zerg vs. Zerg, the man who completely changed this matchup in 2018 by showing you could play solid defensive StarCraft 2, and it looks like he's done it once again, stopping waves of aggression, scouting everything that comes in behind it, and just perfectly walking along the line of greed and safety. Never going too far into greed, never going too far into, you know, overbuilding army to be safe. He always walks that narrow ledge. And where most players accidentally build way too much army or too many drones and expose themselves to weakness, SERRAL is so good at running along that middle of the road and just not giving his opponent the opportunity that they want. Shin's pushing back the Overseer there. SERRAL's Ling's on the left, potentially looking for a counter. Spinecrawler going down as well, which you might think, why is he building a spine? Didn't he defend successfully? He did, but he knows that Shin is likely to keep attacking. Shin is not a late-game master. He is a mid-game expert. He's a clinician when it comes to mid-game timings, early-game tricks and attacks. If you, even as an amateur player, play against these two guys in a tournament, you're going to notice a very different experience. If you play SERRAL, he will be at 70 drones, 60 drones faster than you'd ever seen anyone do it. Nothing you do will feel useful, and then he will just have twice as much stuff as you. And you'll be like, wow, this is unfair. If you play Shin, you'll be lucky to make it past 4 minutes. If you do, it's because he chose to hit you after 4 minutes, and when he does hit you, you're going to die within the first 10 seconds of his army arriving, and it's going to be a ridiculous amount of units for that early in the game. It's a very different style for both players. It does feel like SERRAL's style should match up well versus Shin's. I've always felt that Mutalisks were the biggest weakness for SERRAL, but Solar actually beat SERRAL a few times in 2023, eliminating him from Gamers 8, as well as doing really well against him in a few other tournaments. And he showed that Roach Bane was very powerful, and it kind of changed the meta, where no one really feels safe getting towards Mutalisks. It's too inconsistent these days, and without having that ability to create asymmetry, having to play against SERRAL in a mirror matchup, nobody wants to do this. SERRAL's +2 almost finished. Shin's going to happen. Attack here just before it gets there. I love this choice. Biles landing on both sides. One of SERRAL's Ravagers does get taken down very early. Shin's Ling's coming in from behind right now, but the Biles forces Roaches back, and you can't be running away with all of your Roaches. Every time you run away with all your Roaches like that, you lose way too much damage output, but Shin just didn't have the numbers. When +2 missile kicked in, he was even more screwed. He knew he had to go then. But of course, SERRAL gets a nice win with defensive play. All right, guys. SERRAL, down here is going to going for the 15 Overlord, while Shin, the 14 Overlord. Are you doing 14 pool, mate? No, I don't think so. All right, looks like he is going to go... Okay, 14 Overlord into 16 Hatchery. I really wonder why Shin changes this up all the time. Like, sometimes he extracts a trick, sometimes he doesn't. Interesting to see the differences there. SERRAL's Hatchery is down slightly faster. Now, keep in mind, guys, SERRAL has the better spawn location, guys, because his eggs spawn closer to the minerals on the southern side of the hatchery. Meanwhile, Shin, his drones have to travel slightly further north to get to most of those mineral patches. Massive disadvantage. Unironically, though, some players do prefer to fight upwards and micro at the top of their screen rather than at the bottom of their screen. I know Rotterdam will say he believes it. I kind of believe it, but also not. Like, you know, like I also kind of believe in like when a mysterious lady with a towel wrapped around her head in a smoky room with incense like starts to read tarot cards and tell me what's going to happen in my future. Like, I kind of believe that too, but also like probably wouldn't like bet anything serious on it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's kind of that level of trust that I have in it. Frostline, medium-sized map. So there are decent aggressive opportunities. I wonder if SERRAL's got any aggressive plans. Because that's always the thing, is right? You play Extreme Greed game 1, maybe play a little Extreme Aggression game 1, maybe go a little greedy game 2 as Shin. But part of what made SERRAL such a nightmare to play against in this matchup, since probably about 2020, I think is when the big shift happened in SERRAL's playstyle. So it's been a long time now that SERRAL mixes in a lot of timing attacks, a lot of pre-planned build orders, and just tricky things to deal with. Whereas before that, he'd just play standard, scout everything you're doing, and block it. These days, he's very capable of committing to a big Roach Bane all-in. He's very, you know, capable of going for a Ling Flood. He could go for a cheeky Mutalisk build. He will go for Nidus Worm. So I don't know if he feels forced to do those here against Shin, but definitely a possibility. Third hatchery goes down. We got the other hatchery down the south as well. Keep in mind, guys, other semi-final played after this. Kiro and Clem. Big TVP. So we're guaranteed a Zerg in the finals. Winner of this match against the winner of those two. Honestly, I don't think there's any match that could be bad. I think Shin Hero, for me, is probably the most unexpected, but the one that I could actually be a surprising barn burner if we do get there. Baneling Nest for both sides. 2 on gas for Shin. 2 on gas for SERRAL. These Lings pursuing. Not sure whose Ling speed is faster. Looks like SERRAL should be a little faster, so he should be able to escape. And they're both building just 8 Zerglings. Very conservative. SERRAL's a bit faster into the extra drones, though. While Shin's building extra Overlords faster. So SERRAL's going to take a couple of seconds lead on the droning. Not a big deal, but it does add up over time. You know, I cast so little Zerg versus Zerg these days that I do feel a little rusty as I'm casting this, and I'm like, man, I hope I don't miss too much. I should have got Lambo on just for this series. Should be like, Lambo, please cast with me. I think we should catch stuff, though. I don't think there's been too much craziness. You know, SERRAL's scouting is kind of everywhere. He sees everything that's going on. We've got drones on the gas there. The natural fully saturated. Oh, hold on. Zergling gets in, but no. Only sees that there's a lot of drones. Doesn't see anything else. Roachwarren going down in the wall. So it's Evo first for Shin. Evo into Roachwarren, with SERRAL just going for the Roachwarren. To me, that looks like a safety Warren, but it could be used aggressively. Ooh, bit of a slightling Bane pressure here for SERRAL. And nice snipe there. Gets a Zergling snipe on the Baneling. This one comes in, but in that case, it does get focused down. Shin's going to track that Zergling onto the Baneling. Meanwhile, 2 more Banes down the bottom. Queen should be able to take care of that, though. This is really just SERRAL trying to get a reaction, I think. Same time, Zergling sneaks in. Shin playing really solid StarCraft right now. Most players aren't confident dancing in a macro game with SERRAL, but Shin's doing a really good job right now. Actually, he could have detonated those Banelings. Remember, we are playing on the NA server. SERRAL did win the coin flip. So we are on Shin's map server preference now. Game 1 was SERRAL's server preference. Lair starts up for Shin. Lair has also started for SERRAL a few seconds earlier, but SERRAL's Evo chamber is later, and it's not in his wall, interestingly enough, which, I mean, you could argue that hides it a little bit, but, yeah, I don't know. It does make it a bit harder to defend any Lings that do want to flood in. A few more Banelings have to get made here to defend. Right now, it is 17 Zerglings for Shin with 2 Banes, 14 and 2 for SERRAL with a third one morphing. Zergling runs into the third base. SERRAL's going to 5 gas right now. Meanwhile, Shin's going to 6. Baneling trade there. Still 1 Baneling left, but if Shin lets that get blown up, then these Zerglings might be able to fight. Queen does tank a fair bit, but she's going to go down. Shin immediately replaces the Queen. On the other side of the map, Roach production's underway. Sorry, SERRAL immediately replaces the Queen. Good fight for Shin there. Now, the Lair's just finished. There we go. That's what I was thinking. 6 gas. Straight into Spire. Shin I mean, we always said if he can get into mutas, it'll be amazing. That being said, if he just builds like 6 or 7 Mutalisks and then plays Roach Game, I don't know if that's the style I want. I really would love to see Mutaling Bane, but I think when you go the Spire this late, it's kind of impossible to make that transition. Did he see it? Oh, he did! I was like, dude, how'd he know? But he'd already built the Hydra Den even before then. I think he already sensed it, because he just didn't see that many Roaches out. He saw a lot of economy, and then he confirms it with the Overseer there. Sees the Spire at the final little bit. So Hydra Den, Overlord speeds on the way as well. That'll allow SERRAL to pull these Overlords back. It'll also allow him to drop the Creep Highway, potentially do a big Roach Hydra timing. I wouldn't put it past SERRAL to try and win with a Roach Hydra attack. SERRAL is up 5 workers right now as the Overseer flies through the main. Shin does not know about the Hydra Den. Roaches coming forward. Wow. 26 Roaches for Shin, though. Shin actually has a bigger Roach army right now. So even though he's going for the Spire, if SERRAL attacks right now, it might be a big mistake. If Shin just keeps massing Roaches and doesn't even build the Mutalisks, he's actually in an amazing spot. He could use this Spire almost as a fake. Like, SERRAL just confirmed that the Spire actually did finish, but Shin is just massing Roaches, and that's exactly the right play. I mean, don't get me wrong, it doesn't have the greatest follow-up on it, but if he can just squeeze in the +2 upgrade, neither side starting it, there we go, they both start it. SERRAL only 1 second ahead on the +2 upgrade. 4th hatchery starts for Shin as well. Shin, he built the Spire, Spire got scouted, and now he's just building 3 Mutalisks. So we've got a Roach against Roach Hydra game. The way this works is Hydras only have 90 hit points, which means they will get hammered by things like Corrosive Bile. If they ever get attacked by the Roaches and aren't, you know, defended by their own Roaches body blocking, they're going to get wrecked. But they add way more damage than a Roach. They shoot a lot faster. So the Hydras are a lot more expensive. They give you more firepower, but they're also more fragile. So as long as SERRAL takes the correct fights, his army technically should be better than just pure Roach Ravager. But always depends how the fight happens. We have seen Hydra armies crumble and really not look like a good investment in certain situations. 4th hatchery a bit later for SERRAL. He's going to go Tunneling Claws and Burrow here, trying to find a way in to find some damage. Is cutting it just 65 workers standard in this matchup? Absolutely. You go past 70 drones in a Roach War, it's very dangerous. And remember, SERRAL was expecting a Mutaswap, had to go into Hydras there. Shin was expecting a big Roach attack or Roach Hydra attack, so he had to keep building Roaches. Neither side wanting to give the other a big army advantage. A big army advantage can snowball in a mirror matchup. Roach Ravager diving in right now. Big Biles landing on the front of SERRAL's army. SERRAL was a little slow on those first blocks, but you don't want to stand and swing with the Hydras, because the Hydras, whenever you're not landing Biles and making him run around, the Hydra damage is way better. And look at that, SERRAL's going to repair, or heal, I should say, those Roaches with a bit of heal on the Tunneling Claws. I would like to see him actually heal the rest of these Roaches as well, honestly, because... Oh, is he just going to pop up behind the Ravagers? Is that meant to be a trap? It feels like if Shin pushes in here, he might want to unburrow behind the Ravagers to take them out. Mutalisks coming in to clean up these Overlords, limiting SERRAL's vision. Units lost have dead even so far, but SERRAL going to start losing a few Overlords to these Mutas, and that should help Shin out. +2 going to finish for both sides as the Infestation Pit goes down. Few Zerglings are over there. SERRAL's Ling's not even clicked in. The Queen will finally deal with that. She's got no Carapace upgrades, but she does have +1. Not having any Overseers here is a little tricky. He sees the Tunneling Claws, though, and it's kind of surprising that SERRAL's just going for the frontal fight. Shin standing his ground. Oh, no! Shin's got to be careful. Remember, Ravagers are 3 supply guys. They are much worse for their basic stats than a normal Roach or Hydra. Their supply is really not worth it, and so many are getting popped, each one costing as much as a Mutalisk. SERRAL decisively shoves forward and catches Shin too deep on the other side of the map, gets on top of him, shuts down these Ravagers, and look at that swing. 1,600, 1,700 resource loss advantage. The same upgrades, a similar army, but too much supply in those 4 Mutalisks. That's 8 supply, not in the army. He had 7 Ravagers, which is 7 less supply, which means 3 or 4 less Roaches and Hydras. Combined with the Mutas, that's 8 less Roaches or Hydras. You can see the way SERRAL knew, I've got Hydra upgrades, I've got +2, let's jump on top of him, and he just took such an excellent engagement. Shin's 4th base goes down. Shin's going to keep trying to fight here, but he just can't find the damage. And it looks like SERRAL just understands this matchup so very well, getting himself an early 2-0 lead. Can anybody put the stops on this train? We've had a lot of people say SERRAL has not dropped a series. We've had that stat get dropped in the chat from Lambo and a few other players since those series against Solar in 2023. And I believe someone said it was 22 or 23 series to 0 in a row. Get some gambles up for the games. Moderators, please. Or Dot in the other room. Sorry, guys. I have not been running that today. My bad. I knew I forgot something. It looks like... Did we just see multiple extractor tricks, guys? Yeah, just one on each side. So it looks like we are going for the 16 hatchery. SERRAL in the top right of Amygdala. Shin in the bottom left. I think if this map has a big rush distance, I don't think SERRAL's going to risk hitting you with Roach Bane on this map. If there's a map to go for Mutiling Bane and force an asymmetric game, this might be it. Downside is that there's not many paths to attack with that Ling Bane Muta. Kind of hard to squeeze a Ling drop in the main as well, which is one of the best moves when you're playing Mutalisk ZvZ. A move invented by TLO that actually became standard for a while. Dongre Gu beat SERRAL and Katowice with a Ling drop. I think it was on Gresvin, sniping his hive. Fantastic move. Ling Bane Muta up against the Roach style a couple years ago. Was it the last Katowice? Start of 2024. Can't remember which one it was, but it's very cool to see that. Unlikely we'll see it on Amygdala, though. The question marks really are about how Shin tries to throw SERRAL out of his element, off his game. And it's just so difficult to do. SERRAL, very happy to dance in a standard game with you. He could throw out some aggression as well. And he's going to do it in just a very measured way. It feels like a lot of people are on edge when they're playing Zerg vs. Zerg. It's so fast-paced, they struggle to keep up. But SERRAL, it's not that he just feels like he's insanely faster than you. He's just a bit more measured. It feels like he has better understanding. Like he's thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead and just doing things earlier. Like you don't get the feeling when you watch SERRAL play that he's like, oh, look how fast he is. He's in 4 places at once. You just can't keep up. I mean, don't get me wrong. He will do that in a Roach vs. Roach war sometimes. But yeah, it's more just that he seems to have the match mapped out better than most players. And something that's hard to keep up with. Shin being a bit greedy this game. You can see he's droning a little bit harder. Delayed his third base slightly. I do like the 32 third base. It's kind of nice. Go for the double inject right after that hatchery. Move those queens down. Try and defend the third base. Meanwhile, SERRAL had to build 2 more Zerglings to defend his third. Shin pulls back just in time to keep that low hit point Zergling alive. Survived on 1 hit point. Baneling nest for both sides. Ling Bane is kind of dead in this matchup as an actual attack. As like, I'm just going to mass Ling Bane and go. Dark is pretty much the only top player that will still regularly just go for a big Ling Bane attack and commit 20, 30, 40 Zerglings to it. He's beaten guys like Solar, Shin with that recently. But even against SERRAL, even Dark rarely does that because SERRAL's so consistent at blocking it. But once every few years, SERRAL does get absolutely walloped by some cheesy build orders. A few years ago, go to Solar. A couple years back before that, it was against Rogue in the TSL. Rogue beat SERRAL 4-1 in a grand finals of the big online tournament during the online era. And he did it in 15 minutes. I don't think I've ever seen a best of 7 end in 15 minutes before. Felt kind of bad for those guys running TSL. Not only did they get the ZvZ mirror matchup, has a bit less appeal for the finals, but ending in 15 minutes was a bit, bit painful. Nice Ling Scout attempts from both sides. Neither one's got a lot of vision. Roach Horn a little bit later here for Shin. You can see SERRAL's trying to poke in. Doesn't see anything just yet. Oh, Baneling Morph on the front. One there, one there. He's going to go for a little bit of a Ling pressure. Just 2 Banelings and 9 Zerglings. It's such a small pressure. But SERRAL's so good at just getting damage done with very small amounts of units. Runs in right now. Drone was running out there. I'm not sure why there was a drone over in that direction. Queen needs to focus the Baneling down. She doesn't do it. Okay, finally she does get that focus fire. Don't know if the Baneling went down on the other side or not. This Baneling comes in from that angle. Queen in the wall off though, buys a little bit of time. And the Baneling comes over to push it away. SERRAL tries to focus. But SERRAL's droning and building overlords behind it. I mean, this is the difference. Anyone else doing this sort of attack commits 2 or 3 times the number of Zerglings. And gets supply block behind it while it's happening. SERRAL, he's got his lair almost finished. +1 range started. And he's droning. So he loses a handful of units. He distracts you. Makes you maybe miss an inject here or there. You can see the inject was a little late in the main base. Zergling counter for Shin. Can he find anything? There is a Roach there. So the answer is no. It's going to be Spire once again. Shin has decided if I can get that Spire out. And he's going to go +1 melee. I love it. This is exactly what you got to do. You need to build a few Roaches anyway. so that SERRAL thinks you're playing Roaches, but he's going to have to play a different style. Like I said, you just playing Roach versus Roach against SERRAL is a nightmare. Raynor showed us the playbook for this. Scarlet showed us the playbook for this. If you guys go all the way back 7 years ago to 2018, SERRAL was already starting to get a reputation as unstoppable in this matchup. Shin finds the Banelings in the south. Good play for Shin. But what ended up happening is there was 2 players who multiple times almost beat SERRAL in the year where he lost to almost no one. It was Scarlet and it was Raynor. And if you look at it, they would very regularly get into Mutiling Bane because then you have mobility. Then it's not a mirror matchup. He's trying to defend with his slow Roach Hydra army, going to Lurker Viper. You're running in with Lings and Banes from all sides. You're doing drops. You're counter-attacking him. You're making 90 drones, going to Ultra Viper. You can do all sorts of amazing things. And that's what Shin's trying to do. But this mid-game Roach Hydra push is going to be hard to get past that point. And if you know that this is coming, you usually want to go for an early Bane speed so you can roll Banelings into the Hydras. But he does not know that that's the case. Overseer tries to come in right now. How could you scout this as Shin? Well, he sees the gold base going down. Here's a Changeling in the main as well. Overseer comes in for SERRAL. SERRAL will see the Spire. It's Queen not even attacking it just yet, so SERRAL getting an easy scout in the main base. Meanwhile, Zerglings come in. They're not going to find anything. Not going to find anything at all. 3 drones just went down, guys. I think that was the Banelings must have rolled in on the south side and blew up there. No drones go down on this side. The Overseer finally falls, but the Mutalisks have been spotted. Plenty of time to build Spore Crawlers if you want to. That's the question, guys. He's not building a Spore in his third base. He's going to try and defend there with just the Roach Hydra by the looks of it. There we go. Now the Spore builds on that third. He's going to sit his Overlords all above it as well. Mutalisks coming across the map. Can he defend the gold base? I don't think it's worth just stopping to attack it as Shin, but then again, if you know Overlord speed's already done, maybe it is. Denying creep spread can be very good now. You guys might have noticed earlier, Shin killed his own creep tumor. The reason you kill creep tumors here is because your flying units do not benefit from them. You want the Roach Hydra to be as slow as possible. So you actually don't want any creep on this map. Creep is going to work much better for him than for me. Mutas diving forward. 1 muta goes down. 2 mutas for 2 Hydras. Bad trade for Shin. If you're up at 90 workers, that's okay. I mean, yes, you're at 78 versus 66, but in general, you want to avoid taking fights like that. You want to cut in behind on the rally and find these 2 Hydras alone. That's what you want to do. Roaches come in behind on the gold base. It is a Roach army as well. Wait, he's playing Roach Bane? He's making +1 range as well, is Shin. That is surprising. I thought it was going to be full Mutiling Bane, but he's like preparing to swap out of the Mutiling Bane? Bizarre. 12 mutas are out. Where is the Bane speed? It's almost finished, but there's no Bane's morph just yet. This is a very dedicated push. SERRAL diving in. Mutas are just going to try to overwhelm against the Hydras. I don't know if they can do that. There's 18 Hydras on this map. A lot of them rallying across the map. Roach is running into the third at the same time. The Lings are going to run in for Shin and try to maybe base trade it, but it doesn't feel like he's fully committed to the base trade, and I think he should have. I think if he fully committed to the base trade, this could have worked out. But this push, I don't think he expected SERRAL to come so early. And SERRAL, yeah, the Roaches will die to the Mutalisks, but only after what? After they kill everything inside this base. Ling's trying to run in the third. Those 2 queens are still there. Main and natural for SERRAL have been cleared out. SERRAL's economy has been absolutely minced. But where is the army for Shin? He has 8 mutas, 6 Roaches, 54 Zerglings. If he had 20, 25 Mutalisks out, I could believe he could do it. Without those Mutalisks, I don't know. Then again, SERRAL has not run drones across the map, but SERRAL, he's got a little squad, I should say, of Queens and Hydras at the third base, starting to hold on. As long as he defends that third base, he cannot be eliminated. And that's what Shin needs to do, is he needs to kill this base. He needs to kill all the drones. He cannot win front on. He's got to play the mobility game and win a base trade, but he can't do it. The Hydra Queen there with the transfusers. SERRAL holds. SERRAL now getting in the third base, which means Shin's economy is completely blasted. And in fact, it is SERRAL who will be winning this semi-base trade because he's got his little defensive anchor of Queen Hydra there at that base. Those units can hold. And the Roaches of SERRAL, I mean, yes, they're getting picked off, but all the buildings are dying. Still double the army supply, even losing so many Roaches. 23 Hydras against 13 mutas on that tab. Few Zerglings, the only things being built for both sides. The Hydras come over and chase those Mutalisks away. Total of 14 Mutalisks have died for 21 Hydras in this game. Looks like the Spire will survive, guys. That's going to be useful because... Just kidding. He's got no money, no drones. He's got no way of getting income right now. Shin is deep down a well, and he just doesn't have the numbers. And what a crazy sequence. I've got to rewind that game. Sorry, guys. Things happened so quickly, and I really felt like I didn't think we were going to see the game end that fast. I don't think Shin did either. I just don't think he realized what was happening. And I think if all these Lings and Mutas ran across the map right at this point, and he went full base trade, maybe. Might have been able to do it. But I think because he saw so many Roaches and no Hydras, he went, oh, I've got to defend with the Mutas. He's doing a Roach attack. Then he sees the Hydras, but he thinks, that's not that many. I can fight that. Not realizing, of course, just how many Hydralisks are going to come in behind it. And I think that's where Shin maybe misjudged things just a little. Wasn't quite able to do it. Often, you want to have a bit more time and then roll Speed Banes into the Hydras, let your mutas clean up everything else. He just didn't quite get there. GG, well played. Really nice push for SERRAL. And Shin was trying to be annoying, trying to set up counterattacks, but SERRAL was the first to jump. And he got so much damage done before Shin could really figure out what to do. Right now, Shin has to do the Spider-Man meme, guys. Oh, big thanks, Skinoy, with the $5. Hey, thank you, mate. Are we meant to have alerts on screen? I didn't realize. I guess we do. All good. I didn't realize we were doing alert. Thank you so much for supporting the tournament prize pool, mate. Appreciate it. Alright, guys. Right now, Shin has to do the Spider-Man meme. He has to basically stop a train moving at full speed. And how the heck do you do that? I don't know. He's going to have to do something magical, something incredible. We'll see what he pulls off here. So he goes for the 16 hatchery opening. SERRAL also going for a 16 hatchery, but I think SERRAL went for more of the 15 Overlord, whereas it looks like Shin here. I think this was similarly timed Overlord by the looks of it. Maybe a 14 Overlord for him. So I think maybe he went the Overlord a little bit earlier. Whereas it was a 15 Overlord for SERRAL. It's going to be Hatch Gas Pool for SERRAL. This is Errorholm, a map with a nice tight ramp. If there was ever a map to skip Ling Speed, go for Roaches and +1. This could be it. Ooh. Dude, I'm thinking about all the different attacks you could do on this map. I don't know what the best one would be. Its third base does have rocks in front of it, so you have to go all the way around this top path to attack SERRAL's third from there. Otherwise, you're just running through the middle. There are these like weird little chokes and sight blockers and all that sort of stuff. Got people just tuning into the tournament now. Who won between SERRAL and Clem? Now, we had a rerun of the PiGFest 3 or 4 quarterfinals between SERRAL and Clem playing before we started the stream. That was a rerun. There's a big timer on the screen that said countdown to the PiGFest 5 match. So no worries, mate. Might have just missed the text on the top of the screen for that one and the countdown. We didn't play the whole series before getting into this one. All right, so what about... I mean, he's already gone Ling Speed as Shin, so he's not going to play a Roach build. Part of me wonders if just an optimized, like, 15-15 Roach Queen all-in could work, but I think SERRAL knows those builds so very well. I can't really imagine there's a high chance of it working. I think when someone's this good, like SERRAL is, it's very hard for Shin, because Shin is such a tricky player, and you kind of want to just play better than SERRAL, right? Like, Dark has really taken SERRAL down to the wire a few times recently, and he just doesn't get supply blocked. So basically, for those who don't know, when Dark doesn't get supply blocked, he is like basically 10 times world champion caliber player. And he has very close series with SERRAL when he just decides to not get supply blocked and play really clean openings and hit him with some timing attacks, but also play some macro games and just kind of be that flexible, hard to pin down Dark player that we know. Shin, not on the same mechanical level historically as these guys, more of a trickster, more of a planner, more of a build order guy. And it's hard to counter someone that is playing such a solid scouting-focused and reflexive style. Now, that's a very quick Roach Horn for SERRAL this time around. It does look like he could turn this into his own big Roach Bane attack. It's Baneley Nest on the front, Roach Horn in the back. Oh, yeah! SERRAL's doing the 27 drone attack. This is Shin's favorite build, but he will not expect this from SERRAL. He will not expect this from SERRAL, guys. Oh, my gosh. Dude, this is crazy. Because this Shin has spammed this build that he's facing off against more than any other build on the ladder. He's going to see a few extra Zerglings, but that will not tell him there's Roaches coming. He's going to think, oh, make a few more Lings, make a few more Banelings. What he really needs is a Roach Horn right now. It's 4 minutes. He doesn't have a Roach Horn started. Shin thinking, I need to be greedy because SERRAL's always ahead. He doesn't realize how far ahead he is on drones. He's building 4 more right now. He's going to see the Roaches. Now he sees the Roaches. And he's got to drop spines. Roach Horn goes down immediately, but it's 4 minutes 10. It's a bit late here. This is a very short rush distance map. Errorholm, natural to natural, is incredibly fast rush distance. 1 drone goes down there, 4-2 Zerglings. Not a bad trade in a normal situation, but right now, it's all about surviving for Shin, and he did not build a spine crawler. He is massing Ling Bane. Now, to be fair, there's only 8 Roaches for SERRAL. 8 roaches, 15 zerglings, not very scary. But it's the banelings backing SERRAL's army up that will stop Shin from engaging correctly. If he clumps into this, these banelings of SERRAL will land massive explosions. Look at the way SERRAL's babysitting those banelings. He dances them in there. Banelings going forward for Shin in a decent spready. SERRAL detonates 2 of his own banelings. Getting a decent engage is Shin, actually. Oh my gosh, Shin's holding. Goes for some zerglings after that baneling as well. Good spreadies from Shin so far. If he can get rid of that cocoon also, that could be massive. One of his banelings does detonate a bit derpily, but he holds. And he holds with flying colors. SERRAL down 300 resources, the unit's lost. I'm looking at his camera right now. He looks a little stunned. This is so classic as SERRAL dominating all the macro games. And then, oh, he runs his zerglings in. Okay, he pulled back at the last second, so he minimized the damage a little bit, but still a great hit. Very classic for SERRAL to go and mix in a big attack and then kind of go, this is why I don't gamble. This is why I play defensive. See, guys? But we'll see how it goes here as those zerglings, lings, banes, and roaches for Shin, keeping him safe. Shin's on 37 drones. Meanwhile, SERRAL just now building 5 workers to get up to that same count. He's going to stay active, though. Zergling Scout sees the handful of drones on the 3rd. He's got a handful on his own 3rd, but of course, without a fully saturated natural, SERRAL knows he's far behind. Desperately looking for scouting info. Trying to figure out, do I build roaches or do I build more drones? Of course, we know the answer is to build more army. Shin is panicking right now, guys. Even though Shin's way ahead, look at his supply. 81 out of 130, and he's building 2 more overlords. The adrenaline is pumping so hard because Shin knows he has an opportunity to get a point on the board against an unslayable god. Literally, basically, SERRAL's invincibility shield is down. It's going to come off cooldown in a few more minutes. Shin needs to get the work done. He's going all in, but he's messed up his macro quite bad here. He's really messed up his macro. I've got to be critical there. I've got to call the game the way I see it, guys. I feel like if he didn't do this, he could just go A-move him right now, but Shin has made like 12 overlords after defending the push. There's this thing that happens when your adrenaline's pumping. Sometimes you think, why can't I build units? I'm supply blocked. Oh, whoops, you build 4 overlords. 5 seconds later, you try to build units. You go, oh god, why can't I build units? Oh, and you build 4 overlords. And then you repeat that 3 times before the first overlords even build. And then you realize, oh my god, what did I just do? And it's because you're trying to think about too many things at once. Your heart's thumping. You're not staying calm. It's a giant all-in. It's still going to be hard for SERRAL to defend. SERRAL, though, seems to realize what's happening. He sees a massive blob of roaches. Shin has decided to simplify this game to, I defended, I'm ahead, I'm just not going to make any economy, nothing but army and try to kill you. SERRAL does not have any Banes at home, and that's a problem for him. 2 Banes, actually. He's got 2 Banes. They will help. But it's all about the roach count. 28 against 21. Defender's advantage for SERRAL's pretty good. He's got to keep his Banes alive. If his Banelings stay alive, they could buy him a lot of time, but his Banelings all get used up, which means the Lings and Banes get to come in. Massive Ling counterattack on the reinforce for SERRAL. I love that move. Intercepting the rally. The Banelings come in. Good spready for SERRAL to minimize the damage a little bit. Shin's numbers are gargantuan. And right now, he's got a leviathan of roaches just crushing over the top. The Zerglings coming in from behind, though. SERRAL cleaned up the entire rally. Remember, Shin's army splitting up a little bit. The Lings coming in from behind. SERRAL comes in from behind with the Zerglings. Is he going to be able to hold this? SERRAL trying to pull off a miraculous comeback in game 4. It doesn't look like he has the numbers in the supply count, though. Trying to morph Ravages is Shin to heal those. And it just feels like SERRAL can't get through them in time. The Ravages were going to start popping and healing. SERRAL goes for the 27 drone Shin build. I call it the Shin build. Lambo's in chat. He's like, I invented that build, Pig. It's all right. I think it's Lambo's build. But anyway, it's a 27 drone Roachbane. Really good timing. Shin, an expert at using that build, showed exactly how to defend it. I think SERRAL maybe needed to micro just a little bit better with his Roaches and his Banes. All right, guys. We got Shin in the bottom left side of the map. He's finally got a point on the board. And that's going to give him a bit of confidence. Yeah, he overbuilt some overlords. Made it a bit harder than it should have been because he was miles ahead after that hold. And it feels good, man. To get a hold like that, SERRAL just needed to spread his Banes out and use them a little bit more sparingly to zone out the Ling Bane. He also took a few Baneling hits, quite a few on the front line of Roaches, so maybe a little bit better focus firing on those Roaches onto the Banelings at the first fight would have been good as well. But yeah, SERRAL comes out the worse for wear after that game. Does he go back to stock standard play? I wouldn't be surprised if he does another timing attack, guys. But it will be later. I think it would probably be something like, you know, +1 Roach Nidus. Or just maybe a Roach Bane attack off 45, 41 drone, something like that. 3 gas Roach Bane where you transfer workers to your 3rd base, but you pull them off your natural. So you make it look like you have more drones than you actually do. Those are always very common. Ah, the players swap colors. Ah, that's annoying. Sorry about that, guys. Oh. That's all right. You guys know who's who. I don't want to tab out to fix it now. It is what it is. Now, we were saying we really like it when SERRAL gets angry, when he starts to tussle his hair, when he looks really mad. I'm hoping Shin can win another game so we start to get that SERRAL early. I think there's no doubt that version of SERRAL comes out in the finals if he wins this series anyway. Because if he's playing Hero or Clem, it's very unlikely he has an easy path to victory in this tournament. I think whichever one of these two makes it to the finals, no one's looking at Clem or Hero as a walkover right now. I would argue those two are in very good form for potentially winning a tournament. And honestly, I'm actually a bit starved for Clem playing Terran versus Zerg. He's been playing a lot of Protoss versus Terran in tournament finals recently. Narrowly losing to Gumiho in Home Story Cup. Getting crushed by Cure in the TLMC tournament last weekend. But that's Clem's off race. You know, it's his least experienced matchup. If he ends up against SERRAL in a finals or Shin in a finals, I think you're still going to see the monster come out. 2 more drones building for SERRAL right now, taking a slight worker lead, whilst Shin building a few more Zerglings. Shin supply blocked on 36. Woo, not good. Oh, he's going for 10 Zerglings. Interesting, yeah. So, like I said, you can't be affording these little mistakes, these little supply blocks against SERRAL. When Dark, the mythical creature that very rarely comes out to play, basically once every 3 years for a GSL finals against Maru, or a big, you know, Dallas semis or finals or something like that against SERRAL. Even then, Dark struggles. Uh-oh, Shin accidentally kills his own creep tumor there as well. A little bit shaky here. He's got to keep things calm. Central US server for this one. It's going to slightly favor SERRAL on the lag. And Zergling trying to pull back. Baneling's dancing around. Roachhorn and 11 more drones for SERRAL. So SERRAL actually a bit slow on those drones as well. Looks like he also got supply blocked. That's kind of nice to see, guys. If one player makes a few macro mistakes, I kind of go, oh, this is unfortunate. If the other guy then makes a mistake as well, I go, hey, playing field evened out. Neither player should be able to run away with this. Lair comes in. SERRAL's building 2 more Overlords. So adamant about trying to find out what's happening. He sees the Evo, the Roachhorn, and the extra gas. SERRAL's building Roaches. SERRAL's going to go aggressive. SERRAL's going to go aggressive right now. 8 Roaches on the way. He needs to build another Overlord. 10 Roaches and an Overlord starts up. He's going to rally Ling Bane behind this. And it is going to be 42 drone. Is it 2 gas? Only 2 gas Roach Bane. Zergling gets in. He sees the Roaches pop. Shin knows what's happening. He needs to build a Spine right now. I mean, a Spine Crawler can't defend both areas, but he should build a Spine Crawler here for sure. No Spine on the way. He's just building Roaches and Zerglings of his own. Shin's only up 5 workers, but he's built a lair. He's built an Evo chamber, things which SERRAL has not committed to. He's going to try and buy time with the Zergling run by Baneling is there. SERRAL, perfect interception. He wanted to buy time. He's not able to. SERRAL's droning behind this. It's not an all-in. It's a heavily committed timing attack for SERRAL, but maybe not that heavily committed. It's 10 Roaches. He's not rallying Zerglings at all. It's more of a poke. He grabs himself a drone kill, and with all the Queens and Roaches here, I think he's just going to back away. SERRAL. That's kind of a funky attack that he just did. I mean, it's not quite the Raynor. Raynor used to do 6 Roaches, move them out, and every single game he did it, it would actually, like, trigger SERRAL's Zerg vs. Zerg PTSD, and he'd cancel his lair, cancel his +1, build 5 Spine Crawlers, and then Raynor's Roaches would get to his side of the map and then just turn around and go home without even fighting. And you guys remember 2021 Zerg vs. Zerg? That was kind of Raynor's special move. He won so many matches versus SERRAL with that move. SERRAL, though, much more solid these days, I'd say. Roach speed halfway done. 52 drones for SERRAL, 48 for Shin. Roach speed much faster for Shin, but Shin, no +1 upgrade. That Evo chamber idling, man. He just doesn't have enough gas. And it feels like he's going for a 48 drone Roach speed, no upgrade all in. Guys, this is what we call the Laser. It's the no upgrade Roach speed ZvZ. He's even going to rally Zerglings behind it. It's a bit of a crazy build. Polish gentlemen like to mix this one in occasionally. Normally a laser doesn't necessarily do it as an all-in, just kind of delays his upgrades a long time. Spinecrawler's already building, though. The Overseer realizes SERRAL saw the lack of drones and gases on the third. He drops the Spine. He's got so many roaches. He's making Ravages as well. SERRAL's scouting is so good, and this roach speed, maybe just seconds too late. He's got to force the fight right now. Shin cannot wait. He's got to get in before that Spine is finished. He's got to get in there before the +1 finishes, which he's got plenty of time for that. No upgrades for either side, about a 12 to 15 army supply advantage for Shin at the start of the fight. But you can see the numbers dropping on both sides. Banelings landing, Ravager Biles landing, more roaches coming out. No roach speed for SERRAL here, so his roaches will be a little slow to reinforce. The fight happening far away from the Spinecrawler. Tries to focus down the Ravager, does Shin, but he is outmanned and outgunned, and SERRAL is going to defend that with a 13 worker advantage. His +1 upgrade will kick in afterwards, and it looks like he's just gaining all of the advantages. Roach speed starts up. Would not be surprised to see him move a drone out to take a 4th base. Meanwhile, Shin massing units, and SERRAL just continue to scout, sneaking in units from the side of the base. He does see the gas. That's a sign of Shin trying to transition. Roaches clean those Zerglings up. SERRAL still looking around the base. Sees the naturals undersaturated. Roaches do notice the changeling there. SERRAL going to go up from this angle, check that 3rd base maybe. He sees the gases getting taken, and he sees the drones coming out to this base. That's all SERRAL needed to know. You're going to see SERRAL's response. Immediately drops a 4th base. He starts Overlord speed, +2 range. He realizes, hey, you're trying to recover in the long game? Okay, let's commit to the long game. And goes for everything he needs. Yeah, this is just perfect play for SERRAL. Really well done. Always keeping tabs on what his opponent is committing to at any moment in the game. Changeling does get cleaned up. Burrow starts up. Tunneling Claws will probably come in soon as well when he gets the spare gas. Let's go back to everyone's cameras so we don't give you guys any dizziness watching through the eyes of a goat. 17 out of 12 on this base. Shin needs a 4th. He's taking the one up here. Can he recover in a long game? There's a chance. What's scary is the upgrades. +2 is going to finish not too long after his +1 finishes. Going to try and do a drop by the looks of it. I'm not sure where that Drop-A-Lord was, but going to try and drop something. Zergling Scout's not seeing too much. And it's going to be a Baneling drop. Okay, cute idea. Going to try and drop some Banelings in on the natural, maybe get some worker kills. You want to drop this usually in the middle of the workers. So about here, or here, or here is usually pretty good. Overseer getting vision of everything, and speed Overseer is really hard for Queens to hunt down. Sees the big army, sees the drones transferring to the 4th. SERRAL, +2 attack. Burrow, Tunneling Claws on the way. He's going to move forward. The Baneling drop heading now towards the 3rd base. You can see he's already told that to unload by the looks of it. Roaches try to split off. SERRAL's multitasking, fantastic. Baneling drop coming in. Let's see if Shin can distract him. Are you watching, SERRAL? But he's not dropped in a good spot. Those Banelings. Ah, is he going to get? Okay, pretty good detonates. 9 drones, not bad for 3 Banelings. Nice pick up there for Shin. Does leave the Overlord, unfortunately, which means he will be giving away the 125 minerals and 25 gas. Roach Ravager in the north, able to defend here for Shin. And the longer he delays the fight, the longer he gets closer towards his own +2, usually the better. Keep in mind, though, SERRAL's a very well-respected player in the late game. Shin, not known for his late game at all in this matchup. Tries to avoid it at all costs, and yet his best option here is to try to force late game, to recover in the long game. But SERRAL sneaks Tunneling Claw Roaches into the main and the natural at the same time. Only 1 Roach in the main at the same time, overwhelming the front with good biles. He forced Shin to split a lot of his Roaches back, which means now Shin undermanned on the front lines, and he is just going to push forward a clinical 3-pronged dismantling, and that is what SERRAL does very well. When his Tunneling Claws kicks in, it is one of the most fearsome things in Zerg vs. Zerg. It's so hard to keep up with. The Overseer doesn't quite track them. A Tunneling Claw Roach does sneak past into the main base. At the same time, Shin scrambles to the north to defend. The hatchery is already gone. He tries to trap SERRAL and stop him from retreating. Little does he realize right now he's putting himself between SERRAL and a reinforcing army of SERRAL. SERRAL has more army. He does not care. He does not want to run away. He wants to fight. He's got that upgrade advantage. He's got more army on the map. And there is still a Roach in the main base, being absolute pain in the butt. A 9-kill Roach in the main base. Wow. SERRAL too good in this matchup, mate. ZvZ is not a matchup you get a ton of experience in at the top pro level these days in big tournaments. It's something where there were definitely periods where you get a lot more of it, but it feels like It's so hard to prepare against a guy like SERRAL who doesn't play the weeklies. He does not play the small tournaments. He doesn't play small stakes, you know. Essentially, think of it like you gotta go and get your practice against SERRAL on the big stage in the big tournaments. PiGFest here, one of the smaller tournaments you're gonna get SERRAL out for. $10,000. He's like, I guess I'll roll out of bed for that. Roach Ravager, poking around here. SERRAL's just got so much control over this game. Hydra Tech coming in behind, Carapace as well. And Shin knows with these numbers, 3 base versus 5 base, there's just no coming back from there. SERRAL is so clean, so decisive, 3,000 resources, more efficient in a mirror matchup. The king of ZvZ. SERRAL gets the 4-1 victory. What's going on, dude? GG, well played. Very solid Zerg vs. Zerg performance. I think this extends your ZvZ streak to like 24 best of series in a row or something. It's still been a long time since you lost a competitive Zerg vs. Zerg match since, I think it was Solar in 2023, Twitch chat was telling me. You're feeling like you're confident in this matchup? Did that go about as you expected?
Well, I mean, as confident as you can be in a mirror, I guess, but it's always hard. CVC is always worrying me a little bit, for sure, but I seem to do fine, so maybe I should worry a little bit less. But it's just that you don't really get that much practice in it, so you're naturally just always a little bit uncomfortable in it.
Yeah, very fast paced as well. I mean, I know for the average Joe, Zerg vs. Zerg is like frantic, frenetic, too fast. There's Lings and Banes and there's creep and it seems too fast to control. Does it still feel like that as a pro player and as obviously, you know, arguably best CVZ in the world? Does it still feel like compared to the pace of the other matchups, it's just that little bit more stressful because of the speed?
Not really. I feel like it's pretty defensive for the most part. I feel like the speediest part is when you try to catch the scouting links at the time, so they don't get in your base or something. But yeah, I mean when it's like if the third base is really far and then it's like a very big limb bane attack, it can be very hectic. But generally speaking, it's I don't feel like it's that hectic. I guess also when you play against Muta limb bane, it can get pretty. You have to look a little bit everywhere, but generally speaking, it's not too bad.
Well, let's talk about Mutaling Bane since you bring it up. He did try it on Amygdala, and I think he was kind of shocked that you pushed so early. So we've seen, you know, we were talking a little bit while commentating it and with Lambo in the chat in between the games about Lingbane Muta and how a lot of people tried to do this against you over and over again back in 2018, right? You know, like WCS Montreal, Rainer's going mutas every game, Scarlet's doing tricky mutas, Lambo's mixing mutas in. These guys all gave you a lot of tough games, right? But it's very hard to get there these days because of like Roach Bane attacks. Shin got up to the Mutalisks, almost had Bane speed finished and stuff. Did you just feel like, look, I just got to not give him room to get up to like 80, 85 drones and Lingbane. I just got to hit early with the Hydras. Do you just think talk us through your reasoning for that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I just didn't want to play against the Muta, to be honest. I never do, especially since he's wasn't like he was handicapping himself in any points of the game. Really, he did make some roaches, so obviously Muta is a bit weaker, but not that many, I felt like. So I just wanted to kill him. I already had a pretty decent roach count, and I feel like the Mutas weren't the fastest ever anyways. So I could have some sort of a timing there, but 95% of the time those don't really work too well. But I did win him last time as well in a very similar way. I don't remember if it's a Master's Coliseum or something. I just did like a similar attack. I don't remember if I also skipped like the second Evo upgrade and stuff. And I even had a better start this time, so I just thought I would go for it. But yeah, if you would have just made like 20 bailings with the speed, it would have been probably pretty hard. But like you said, he didn't really expect it as fast. And to be honest, my roach count was already pretty strong there. So I feel like even if he kills all the Hydras without all the counter damage he did in that game, I could do a lot of damage with the roaches and maybe just like get more and more Hydras and beat his Mutas eventually. But it obviously just came down to first attack this time.
Well, it's kind of fascinating to watch the way the army power spikes work. Like, I think it was Frostline, I think it was map 2, where he tried to go just a couple of Mutalisks because you scouted the Spires, right? So he just kind of mostly stayed on Roach Ravager. And it was interesting because, like, it felt like the moment +2 finished, you just kind of realized, you know, he's got maybe some supply in the Mutalisks, your +2 was done, and you just forced a fight with Roach Hydra. Do you feel like Roach Hydra's just better bang for buck than Ravagers? Is it because the Ravagers cost too much supply, or did you just see a good position where you kind of got a good concave on him?
Yeah, well, I was maxed out. I didn't really throw up at all that game, so it just made sense to go for the. I mean, if I get a good flank there or some sort of a big concave, I guess I just want to go for the fight. I don't really, generally speaking, don't think Hydras are better than Ravagers. Obviously, only made them because of the mutas. I maybe even overmade them a little bit that game, but I guess I scouted there was no bailing speed, so it wasn't that terrible. But yeah, just I mean, I was kind of all in position in a way. I don't even know what happened to my fourth base because I didn't have it. I tried to make it very early on, but then I checked like 1 minute later and it's still not there. So I don't know if there's one link blocking it or something. So I felt like I just had to get the fights going at some point. But obviously, I think he was even lower drawn count than I. So I guess it's not that all in for me in that case.
Great. It's good to hear that you have those moments as well where you know, I think everyone watching can relate to that constantly in our StarCraft games of going, oh, why didn't the thing happen? I thought I gave the order. It's good to know it happens to
it happens
you guys
pretty
as
rarely
well.
actually that you like don't make the base, but I don't know. I actually don't know what happened there, to be honest. It's very rarely it happens.
I didn't even catch it in the game at all. That's cool. Well, the one map you dropped is a very cool build order from you. You know, 27 drone roach Banal, and who would you credit as coming up with such a genius build order that gave you your only loss?
Yeah, well, I mean, Lambo did that against me in on Crest one of the Challenger leagues. Well, not Challenger league. I don't know what the DreamHack online leagues were called. I think that
Like
was
the
the first time.
regionals, right?
Yeah, the regionals. He did against me in Crest once. That was the first time. First time I saw it. I think maybe that's something earlier. I don't remember. But yeah, I don't know. I doesn't really work ever for me. I tried it twice against Rainer as well in some of my recent series, and I lost both. So, well, I don't remember. I think I lost one of them in one game. I was behind, and now I also lost, even though there wasn't even roaches. So maybe my execution isn't that great.
That's funny because I normally see Shin spamming that build, so it was cool to see him showing how to defend it really well for once, which is really nice. Yeah, I like that you mixed in the aggression there as well, and we did get another game out of it, so it was cool.
Yeah, I wonder if it was hard because I even checked the replay. I was like, well, that went terrible, and I saw he made like 10 links. I guess he was planning to do like a little link bane pressure. So maybe the fact that he had like 20 links already preemptively even before seeing it simplified for him. I feel like he could have even just counter like went to my reinforcements with a lot of the links there. He has so many of them already. But yeah, interesting game.
Could you have spread your banes out a little more? I'm struggling to remember the fight as well. But did he like detonate on your banes at all, or?
I don't remember. I mean, I had like 5 banes only, so or like 4 and 1 coming, I think so. I just didn't have gas too much, but yeah, I think he got like a 2 for 3 trade or something, and obviously the queens just kill banes pretty fast as well.
Yeah, and then like it's funny because you think like, well, the roaches will be up front because they ignore banelings, but then you're like, well, it's only 8 roaches, and once 9 banelings walk through them blowing up, all your roaches are on red life, so like they're not very good units anymore, and the queens just finish them off.
Yeah, maybe just I needed to have just a roachling a bit more forward, just have the banelings on the back in case he engages probably. But yeah,
it's very tricky,
it's not,
right?
and it's not a winning build for me. It seems like.
I do like it because like it even brings me back to like I remember like was it 2018, right? So when you won World Championship, when you played Rogue in the semifinals, I think it was, and the one game you lost was also it was like the Ling Flood, you know, like fake hatchery or whatever, like really fast hatchery all in, and I just love it because like there's a lot of series where you're like doing perfect macro build, and I'm like really sick cheese, but the opponent just like defends perfectly. And I'm like, damn it, I feel that should have worked. Like, I also think Errorholm, that was a good map to do that build on in this series. It's a short rush distance. I'm like, this is a good situation for it. But, like, yeah, it just happens not to work sometimes. I still think it's good, though, because it puts your opponent on their toes, right? If they've got to worry about you doing more things now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, yeah, it does. But it's always good to keep in mind that I don't think people go too far in preventing, like, a... they don't get too careful usually at this level anymore. Obviously, they maybe have it behind their ear that there might be something that's coming, but at the same time, it's not like they get overly cautious.
Indeed. Well, let's finish up the interview with the final one. Who are you cheering for? Who would you rather play in the next semi-final? Do you want Clem to win and face him, or Hero?
Actually, I've been having a hard time against both. Hero has been beating me with his on the European server with his 300 ping, so it's not a good look for sure. But Clem's also very hard, so they're both hard to beat. I don't really know who I want. I guess yeah, it's 50-50. It would be nice to beat Clem, I guess, but it wouldn't be nice to lose to Clem. So I'm not sure what I want here.
I feel that. Both very tough opponents. You know, I was saying it during the cast as well. There's no easy result after your semi-final. Whether you or Shin were going to win, you're always going to be facing one of the two other favorites to kind of win the entire tournament. So I look forward to seeing your match, and yeah, look forward to seeing you in the finals, mate. So good luck, get yourself prepared, and we'll see you in the grand finals.
Yep, thanks. Bye-bye.
GG's.